What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the divide of the Gotham Knights community. This is something that we had expected to see, I think, right, 100%, and it's happened. It's happened. So, earlier today, I did my 15-hour, impressions. Honestly, I played it even more last night. I'm still liking it. I actually like it more and more. This isn't so much about me, though. This is more about what I've seen online. And that is that this game really has, and I've talked about it before, this game feels, or it felt, because it was past tense, it has felt different than a lot of other games. This game had like a third faction of people going into it. So you had like the people that when you play it, you may like it. You had the people that play it and maybe they don't agree and they don't like the things that were in the game. But then you also had this other group that were so anti it because of the not being Batman or not being Arkham. And this isn't a video actually to pick on, as of right now, nobody. So I'm not picking on anybody here. And so if you thought that, if you didn't like Gotham Knights at the beginning because it's not an Arkham game, that's fine. I have nothing really to say, against that. It is interesting because there has been that third group like this entire time. The game really kind of set itself up for this because it is a rough around the edges game. It is a game that, honestly, after playing it, after playing it a fair amount of time, I don't think it's unfair at all to say, like, there is Marvel's Avengers, like, DNA all over this game. It's not exactly Marvel's Avengers. I think it's much, much, much better. But at this point, right now where I'm at, being brutally honest, if you wanted to make, like, comparison videos, right, to compare the two games, I would not have anything to stop you. In fact, I've seen channels that have been dedicated to covering Marvel's Avengers that are also covering Gotham Knights and saying how closely related the two are. Another thing I kind of noticed, and this is definitely like the outlier, and to be fair, this happens for pretty much every game. You have people that I fully believe, and I'm not naming names because I don't really actually have a direct example I can point to right now, but I guarantee you, there are people that are purposely being nice to this game. There are people purposely being mean to the game. And that's, again, like, that is not rocket science. That's not anything new. You get that for literally any, say, console wars thing. So anytime a PlayStation exclusive or an Xbox exclusive comes out, you're going to have people that overhype it and say just the greatest things about it. And they're lying because they're not being true to themselves. And then you also have people that are just kind of tearing it down. And that's what, and I do think not every game has that. I do think, like, say a game like A Plague Tale Requiem. Now, that's kind of gotten itself into a little bit of drama online too recently, but generally, if you stay away from drama and your game releases and you're not, like, part of a console war thing, you're not, I would argue, in, like, the superhero genre either. Like, certain genres are kind of more susceptible to this stuff. You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have it as much. So I do think a game like Gotham Knights, being a DC game, being from Warner Bros. Montreal, being a game that, we don't get many of these games, I do think there is an inherent, birth of people that are overly nice and overly negative. I think I've honestly been very, very honest with people in terms of what I think about it. I do think there is some dishonesty that's going on. And there's, there's people that are just saying very, very positive things without actually meaning it. Then there's people picking on it that either don't know what they're talking about or they're just picking on it to pick on it. They don't really even feel that way. Again, that's not necessarily new. Other games get it, but not every game gets it. Gotham Knights, you could expect that it would have happened. And again, like, the game being like a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 kind of game, a game where things can get very repetitive, it opens itself up to just this divide in the community. One thing that I've actually said is that I do think it's going to take a while for the community, like the actual community that is playing the game, and they may hate it or they may like it, but they're actually playing it. It's going to take those people, including myself, quite a while to actually, like, give a verdict on this game. It's why I did, the early impressions video, and I've honestly said, kind of behind the scenes, I think it's going to take like 30, 40, 50 hours of playing this game because it kind of goes up and down. For me, I'm in the improving stage. Like, the game constantly is getting better for me. I'm enjoying it more and more. Some people are in the in the downward stage. And then, of course, you still see people online, and that's totally fine. You see people that say, like, hey, it's just not working for me, like, at all. And some of these are hardcore, like, DC fans or superhero fans that are playing this game. and I will say this as maybe one of the last things I'll say. It's not exactly where you want your game to be. And I do think I've said this before when the game was coming out, like maybe 2 or so months before the game came out. I made videos where it's like the community is divided. So the community is still divided right now, and that's okay. It's okay for people to not think the exact same. I'm a big advocate of that, but it's really not what you want of your game, right? Like that kind of makes sense, right? So this game right now in people's hands, it is all over the place. There's some people that do love it. There's some people that do hate it. And to an extent, some of that is normal, right? Even some of the games that worldwide people think of as like the best games of all time, I'm sure you could find people that don't like it. But a good amount, like a really good amount. Like for every person that likes it, there's a person that hates it. That exists with Gotham Knights. And while I'm totally cool with that, I do think it makes it more interesting to talk about. It's not from Warner Bros. Warner Bros. Games and Warner Bros. Montreal. You don't exactly want that for your game, right? Because it is just such a divided community. And so we'll see what happens with it. I mean, I know every time I talk about what their second game is, you'll get people that say it's going to get canceled because the studio is going to shut down because of all that stuff. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the studio, and we'll see what happens with their next game if they're able to continue to make it. We know they were making it. So just something I noticed. Again, a lot of it isn't necessarily new. A lot of it you could easily have expected to happen with this game because you could just see the divided nature of the fandom going in. But now that it's out, you can see it, and you can kind of get into echo chambers. Honestly, I think a lot of people that follow me, from what I've seen on Twitter, and I've tweeted quite a bit, and I've got a lot of responses, and also on YouTube in the comments of my recent videos, I do think my community is kind of along the same lines with me, where nobody's really calling it, game of the year. It's not an amazing game. It's not a perfect game. It's a very flawed game, but it's fun. I do think that's what I've seen a lot of in my group. But, for these kind of videos, it's important to, take a couple steps out of that and see what other people are saying. And yeah, I mean, you can tell, this is just one way of thinking about it. There's some people that actually like it much more than me and much more than you guys, than the normal viewers that watch. And then there's some people that absolutely hate it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. And I hope to see you all on the next one.